Billionaire's baby won't stop crying at the hotel until a black cleaning lady did the unthinkable. The marble floor of the Grand Plaza Hotel gleamed under the golden chandeliers, but the sound that cut through the air wasn't music or laughter. It was the sharp, restless cry of a baby. A billionaire's child, red-faced and wailing in his stroller, shook the piece of the lobby where wealthy guests sipped champagne and spoke in polished whispers. Beside the stroller, his young nanny panicked, shushing frantically. A cluster of elite guests turned their heads, annoyance curling their lips. "Can someone do something about that noise?" one woman muttered, her diamond necklace catching the light as if even it sparkled with disdain. Then came the voice, sharp, commanding, dripping with authority. Vivian Montgomery, the hotel's executive manager, strode across the floor. Her heels clicked like judgment itself. "You there?" she barked, eyes narrowing on Amanda Silva, a cleaning lady in her faded uniform. "Step away from that stroller. Do you think your dirty hands belong anywhere near this child?" Amanda froze. Her palms, calloused from years of scrubbing, tightened around her mop handle. Her heart thudded, not from guilt, but from a quiet strength she had learned to carry. Guests chuckled under their breath, expecting her to bow her head in shame. But Amanda did not move. She looked straight at Vivian, her tired eyes holding a spark that no one noticed yet, because what she was about to do would silence the entire lobby. Backhand index pointing right. If you believe no one should ever be treated this way, share this story, because silence only protects the cruel. Amanda Silva was 28 years old, but her eyes often looked older. They carried the weight of someone who had seen too much, too soon. Each morning, before the sun rose, she would wake in her small apartment on the city's west side. The walls were thin, the paint peeling, and the heater worked only when it wanted to. Yet, inside that tiny space, Amanda built a world of warmth for her 6-year-old son, Elijah. Her mornings always began the same way, humming softly as she braided Elijah's hair, pressing a kiss to his forehead and whispering, "One day, baby, things will be different. One day, Mama will make it better." Elijah would grin, showing the gap where his 2 front teeth were missing, and reply, "I believe you, Mama." That belief was the fuel that pushed Amanda out the door every day, even when her body ached from endless hours of cleaning. At the Grand Plaza Hotel, Amanda was just another invisible worker. Guests walked past her as if she were part of the furniture. Her mop bucket rolled across marble floors that cost more than she made in a year. She scrubbed stains from silk carpets, polished brass rails until her reflection blurred, and carried heavy bags of trash through hallways perfumed with luxury candles. But Amanda carried herself with quiet dignity. She never complained. She smiled politely, even when ignored. Yet behind that smile, she fought battles no one saw, overdue rent, medical bills, and a boss who reminded her at every chance that people like her were lucky to even have a job. Still, Amanda found joy in small moments. The way Elijah's laughter filled the room when she read him stories at night. The way neighbors sometimes left a plate of food outside her door when they knew she'd skipped dinner. Even the sunrise on her early walks to work felt like a secret gift meant just for her. But the hotel wasn't always kind. Guests often left cruel reminders of the gap between their world and hers. Some wrinkled their noses as she passed too close, as if her uniform carried dirt that could contaminate their wealth. Others spoke about her as though she couldn't understand English. Sharp jokes, careless remarks, all while she was standing right there. Amanda learned to lower her gaze, to let the words slide off her back, because answering back could cost her job. One afternoon, she overheard 2 guests laughing in the corridor. "Can you imagine cleaning up after people all your life? I'd rather die than scrub toilets." Their laughter rang in her ears long after they walked away. She didn't cry. She didn't scream. But that night, when Elijah asked her, "Mama, why are your hands so rough?" she had no answer. And then there was Vivian Montgomery, the hotel manager who made Amanda's life a quiet battlefield. Vivian was elegant, tall, with sharp features and an even sharper tongue. She believed in hierarchy. The rich at the top, the workers at the bottom. To her, Amanda was not a person, just a uniform. Every mistake, no matter how small, was treated like a crime. A water ring left on a table, A minute of delay, a strand of hair not tucked away. Vivian made sure Amanda paid in humiliation. But Amanda endured. She reminded herself of Elijah, of her dream to save enough money to move into a better apartment. Maybe even return to school one day. Hope was a thread she clung to, fragile but unbroken. Yet, what Amanda didn't know was that life had been preparing her for a moment she could never have imagined. A moment where her strength would be tested in front of everyone. Because the humiliation she faced in the hotel lobby that day was not the first, and it would not be the last. Backhand index pointing right. But this was only the beginning. The day of the billionaire's arrival began like any other for Amanda. She punched in at the staff entrance, slipped into her faded uniform, and tied her hair back neatly. But something in the air felt heavier. The Grand Plaza Hotel had been buzzing for weeks about the Harringtons, one of the richest families in the country. They were hosting a private gathering in the penthouse suite, and every staff member had been warned. One mistake, and you're out. Amanda kept her head down, moving silently from room to room, polishing, scrubbing, making everything gleam. But whispers followed her. A few servers giggled as she passed. Did you hear? Vivian's already chosen her scapegoat if anything goes wrong tonight. One said. Their eyes slid toward Amanda. Her stomach twisted. She knew exactly what that meant. By mid-afternoon, the Harringtons' entourage swept in. Men in tailored suits carried phones pressed to their ears. Women draped in fur and diamonds strutted through the lobby. Cameras flashed as paparazzi gathered outside. In the middle of it all was Mrs. Harrington, her baby in a designer stroller, fussing and kicking despite the golden rattle in his hand. Amanda was polishing the brass railings near the entrance when she heard the baby's first wail. At first, it was just a small cry, but within minutes, it grew louder, sharper, echoing to the lobby like an alarm no one could ignore. The nanny's face flushed red as she bounced and cooed, desperate to quiet him. Guests shifted uncomfortably, covering their ears. A wealthy man muttered, "Why doesn't someone take that brat upstairs?" Vivian appeared instantly, lips pressed in irritation. Her eyes scanned the lobby until they landed on Amanda. "You!" she snapped, striding over. "Step away from that railing and do something useful. Don't just stand there gawking." Amanda froze, mop in hand. "Ma'am, Don't talk back," Vivian hissed. "But don't you dare touch that child. Just stand nearby. Maybe your presence will remind the nanny to get it together." Heat burned Amanda's cheeks. The guests' laughter prickled at her skin. She wasn't sure what insult was worse, being ordered around like a tool, or being treated like dirt too unworthy to even soothe a crying baby. Minutes passed, but the crying only grew more frantic. The nanny was nearly in tears herself, rocking desperately. Mrs. Harrington rolled her eyes. "This is unacceptable. Do you know what I'm paying you for?" she snapped at the nanny. The lobby had gone tense. Conversation stalled. All eyes darted between the shrieking child and the fumbling caretaker. And then, as if drawn by instinct, Amanda took one small step forward. "Don't you dare!" Vivian's voice cut like a knife. "Don't you dare lay a hand on that child with your filthy hands." A murmur rippled through the guests. Someone chuckled. Another whispered, "Can you imagine? A cleaning lady touching the Harrington baby?" Amanda's fingers tightened around her mop. Her throat ached with words she couldn't say. She wanted to scream that her hands weren't filthy. They were hard-working hands, hands that cooked for her son, braided his hair, wiped away his tears. But the words stuck like stones in her chest. And then came the cruelest blow. Vivian leaned closer, her voice low but sharp enough for the surrounding guests to hear. "Women like you should know your place. You'll never be more than this." Amanda's stomach dropped. A hush fell over the lobby. Even the crying baby seemed momentarily softer, as though the room itself was listening. But Amanda didn't break. She swallowed hard, lifted her chin ever so slightly, and held Vivian's gaze. For the first time, there was no fear in her eyes, only quiet defiance. The baby's cries rose again, shrill and desperate. The nanny shook her head helplessly. Mrs. Harrington looked ready to explode. And everyone waited for the cleaning lady to retreat, to bow her head, to vanish like a shadow. But Amanda didn't. She stayed rooted in place, her presence as steady as the marble beneath her feet. And deep down, a storm was building. Backhand index pointing right, but the real blow hadn't even come yet. That evening, as the party moved to the grand dining hall, Amanda was ordered to remain nearby just in case. She stood at the edge of the glittering room, surrounded by chandeliers, gold-rimmed glasses, and guests in gowns worth more than her yearly wages. They laughed freely, tossing around cruel jokes about the help, as though she weren't even human. The Harrington baby grew restless again, wailing mid-toast. Vivian's glare sliced across the room, straight at Amanda. "Don't just stand there," she barked. "Make yourself useful." Amanda hesitated, the weight of every eye pressing down on her. The humiliation of the day, the insults, the dismissal of her humanity, all of it boiled inside her. And in that moment, she made a choice that would change everything. Backhand index pointing right. But no one in that glittering hall was prepared for what Amanda was about to do next. The grand dining hall shimmered with light, but under that brilliance, the air was suffocating. Crystal glasses clinked, forks scraped china, and above it all, the Harrington baby's wail pierced like a siren. Guests shifted in irritation, muttering complaints. The nanny's face was drenched in sweat. Mrs. Harrington waved her jeweled hand in disgust. Vivian's voice cracked like a whip across the room. "Amanda, do something." 100 eyes turned. The cleaning lady, standing in her faded uniform, her mop propped against the wall, froze under the weight of the richest gaze in the city. Her heart pounded, sweat trickled down her back. Her hands trembled, not with fear this time, but with decision. Amanda stepped forward, slowly, purposefully. "Stop right there." Vivian snapped. "Don't touch him. You'll ruin everything." But Amanda's eyes weren't on Vivian. They were on the baby. Tiny fists clenched, face blotched red, lungs straining with a cry that begged for comfort. Something in her chest broke open. For a moment, she didn't see diamonds or chandeliers or judgmental stares. She saw Elijah, her son, cry in the dark of their cold apartment, waiting for her arms to make the world safe again. And she moved. Before anyone could stop her, Amanda knelt beside the stroller. Gasp shot through the hall. Vivian nearly choked on her own outrage. "How dare you?" But the baby's cries faltered. Amanda's rough, callous hands, the very hands mocked as dirty, reached out gently. She whispered a soft lullaby, the same tune she sang to Elijah when monsters of hunger and fear lurked in the night. The baby blinked, hiccuped, and within seconds, the shrieks melted into quiet whimpers. Then silence. Peace. The hall froze. Forks hung midair. Glasses paused at lips. For the first time all evening, the room was still. Amanda lifted her eyes, locking onto Vivian's stunned face. Her voice, low but steady, carried across the hush. "These hands may be rough, but they know how to comfort. Something your money can't buy." It was as if the chandelier light itself trembled. Gasps spread. Someone muttered. She silenced the baby. Another whispered, "How?" Vivian's face twisted in fury. "You insolent." "Enough," came a deeper voice. The crowd turned. Mr. Harrington himself had risen from his seat. His tailored suit caught the golden light, but his expression was unreadable. He walked slowly toward Amanda, every step echoing louder than applause. Vivian straightened, expecting him to unleash his wrath on the cleaning lady. Instead, he stopped beside the stroller, looked at his now peaceful child, then at Amanda. A strange softness flickered in his eyes. "You," he said slowly, "remind me of my mother. She wasn't born rich, but she had hands just like yours. Strong, sacrificing, capable of giving comfort when no one else could." Vivian's mouth fell open. "Sir, surely you don't mean—" "I mean," Mr. Harrington cut sharply, "you owe this woman an apology." The hall erupted in murmurs. Vivian stammered, color draining from her face. "AP apology?" "To her, yes," Harrington said firmly, his gaze icy. "Because tonight it wasn't money nor management nor luxury that silenced my son. It was humanity, something you clearly lack." Vivian's composure cracked. Her lips quivered, but no words came. Amanda's knees shook. She wasn't used to anyone standing up for her. She wasn't used to being seen. Tears burned the back of her eyes, but she held them in. And then the unthinkable happened. Mr. Harrington turned to Amanda. "From this day, you won't be scrubbing floors here. I want you as my son's caretaker. If anyone has earned trust in this room, it's you." The hall exploded with whispers. Some gasped in disbelief. Others clapped nervously, unsure what else to do. Vivian looked as though the floor might swallow her whole. Amanda stood there, trembling, her callous hands resting on the stroller. For once, she wasn't invisible. For once, she wasn't just a uniform. She was Amanda, mother, fighter, protector. Backhand index pointing right, and in that glittering hall, the powerful learned the truth they'd never forget. Dignity cannot be bought, and humanity cannot be silenced. The glitter of the dining hall faded into murmurs. Some guests clapped politely. Others whispered behind jeweled hands. But no one dared laugh anymore. Vivian, usually so sharp and commanding, stood pale and speechless, stripped the power she had wielded so carelessly. Amanda slowly rose to her feet. Her heart thundered. Her palms were damp, but her gaze was steady. She hadn't set out to prove anything that night. All she had wanted was to survive another shift, to earn just enough to keep Elijah fed and safe. Yet in standing up for what was human, she had shaken an entire room built on arrogance and wealth. After the party, a few staff members approached her quietly. A dishwasher patted her shoulder. A server whispered, "You did what none of us could." For once, she wasn't invisible. She wasn't the help. She was someone who had forced even the richest in the city to pause, to see, to reflect. Amanda walked home that night under a sky full of stars. The city still roared around her, but inside she carried a silence, the kind that comes after a storm. When she unlocked her apartment door and saw Elijah sleeping peacefully, she bent down and kissed his forehead. She whispered, "One day is getting closer, baby. One day is coming." But the truth of that night went far beyond Amanda. In that hall, guests had witnessed something money couldn't shield them from: the raw power of dignity. Some would dismiss it by mourning, pretending it never happened. But others would remember the sight of a cleaning lady calming a billionaire's child when all their wealth and status had failed. And as for Vivian Montgomery, her downfall had only begun. Whispers of her cruelty spread to the hotel, carried by those who had always been silent. Power built on humiliation cannot stand forever. Amanda's act was small, simple, just the touch of a hand, the murmur of a lullaby, yet it carried a message heavy enough to crack marble floors. Humanity belongs to everyone, not just the privileged. So the question lingers, echoing beyond the walls of that glittering hall. If you were there that night, would you have stayed silent or stood up? Backhand index pointing right, this story isn't just Amanda's. It mirrors our world. If it moved you, share it, because awareness is the first step to change.